Yo, what is up guys? This is Pedro here, and in today's video I will be bringing you guys my final Washington football team 2021 NFL mock draft, and this time it will be the full 7 rounds, so make sure you guys stick around to the end to see who I end up picking for the Washington football team. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so let's get started. I will try to make each pick a little bit quicker since we are doing 7 rounds. So here at 19 in the first round, I'm not doing any trades, so we're sticking at 19. There are no quarterbacks available, but Caleb Farley, one of the best cornerback prospects, is available. He has slipped because of injuries. Zaven Collins is available, great linebacker, but a lot of teams see him as, a 3 fitting in a 3-4 scheme, so that wouldn't really work for us. He also weighed in at 270, so he might want to be a little bit more of an outside linebacker. Jeremiah Uso-Koromoa, one of the most versatile players in the draft, is available, and Elijah Vera Tucker. I like Elijah Vera Tucker, but if they view him more as a guard, then I think I would take Jeremiah Uso-Koromoa. He's one of the most versatile players in the draft, and Farley has a huge injury history, tore his ACL early on in his collegiate career and has this bad back injury, so that would concern me, but he is an elite prospect. But let's go ahead and take Jeremiah Uso-Koromoa real quickly. You look at his 2019 season, had 80 tackles, 4 passes defended, 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles this year, 3 forced fumbles, an interception, less sacks, wasn't, asked to do it as much, but he's a very, very good coverage linebacker, probably the best in this class. Him and Jabril Cox are pretty close. He's from the DMV area, very good in short to intermediate coverage, solid tackler. He's just a freak, he's a beast. Obviously, the concern is he is a little bit small to play linebacker. He's about 6'1", and at his pro day weighed in at about 221 pounds. But there have been linebackers like Darius Leonard who've played at lower weights, and also, there's some teams or some scouts that view him as a hybrid between a linebacker and a safety. But if they view him as a true linebacker, then I think this would be a great pick. And also, Ron Rivera had Thomas Davis in Carolina, and he was a former safety in college that transitioned to linebacker. So I really think this would be a great fit in Washington. Great positional versatility. He fits a position of need, and he's one of the best players in this year's draft. Let's go on to our next pick. Okay, so now with our second round pick, I'm going to change it up a little bit. There weren't any great offensive linemen, and that's probably where it would have gone if there were some solid options, but most of them were ranked in the 70s. And I think there's better value at the safety position. And usually in the second round in these mock drafts, I've been taking Richie Grant, but I'm going to take Javon Holland out of Oregon, and here's why. First, we did meet with him, and apparently went pretty well. And something interesting about Javon Holland, obviously, he's a great safety prospect, but also he's a really good returner. And Nate Katzer met with him, so it does show that they are interested in him as a safety, but also as a potential returner. And we definitely need some game-changing speed back there at the return spot. You look at his stats, he opted out this past season, but in his 2 years at Oregon, he had 9 combined interceptions, which is outstanding. In 2019, 66 tackles, 40 solo tackles, 4 passes defended, and 4 interceptions. Just an absolute beast. Sometimes can, get some pressure off the edge. They sometimes send him on blitz. I really like this player. Exciting player out of Oregon, about 6'1", 201 pounds, a ball hawk. 9 interceptions in 2 seasons is very, very impressive, and he's a very good punt returner, and that could help us out as well. Okay, so now with our first third round pick, and I do think we need to go offensive line here. They really want to address the left tackle position, and hey, maybe if they don't end up getting one of the guys they want in the first or second or even third round, they might try to sign a veteran in free agency. There's still some options, or they could just stick with what they have. But I really like Spencer Brown out of Northern Iowa. He's ranked a little bit lower here, but most people project him to go between rounds 2 and rounds 3. So I do think he will be here. You look at his, draft profile. He's 6'8", 311 pounds. Really good athlete, played some basketball in high school as well. Like I said, projected to go in the second to third round. Played right tackle for most of his career at Northern Iowa, but a lot of people think that he can play left tackle at a high level in the NFL. I think this would be a great pick, and it's not a huge commitment in the third round, and it has a lot of upside. I really like the pick. You guys can look at some of his strengths and weaknesses right here, but I really like this pick, and he can compete for the starting job on day one. Okay, so now with our second, third round pick, and here I do think we need to address the tight end position. I like Sammis Reyes, but we still definitely need to add to that position. And the best player overall left, according to this board, is Tommy Tremble, and I really like him. He's going to be a day 2 pick, but he has a lot of high upside. Played at Notre Dame, about 6'4", 248 pounds. An elite blocker, the best blocking tight end in this class, and it's probably not even that close. He's not a huge threat in the passing game. I mean, you look at his stats, 19 catches for 218 yards this past season, but they didn't really involve him that much because they had a bunch of talent around him, in the pass catching game. They have a guy who's probably going to be a first round pick in a year or so, and he's primarily their pass catcher. The year before, they had Cole Kmet, but I think he has some really good upside, not only as a blocker in the NFL, but I think he has the traits that can translate when it comes to pass catching. He just hasn't been asked to do it. You guys can look at some of his strengths and weaknesses. Very good blocker, especially in the run game, but also a very good blocker in the pass game, which can make him, he can immediately play for us on day one. That's the good thing about him. Not necessarily going to be asked to pass catch much initially, but I think we can work that in, and I think this would be a great pick in the third round. Okay, so now with our fourth round pick, and I think I'm going to address the cornerback position. I don't think it's a huge need, but they still want to add to that. They don't have much depth at the cornerback position, and I think Shaun Wade would be a really intriguing option in the fourth round. Has super high upside. A lot of people thought that if he didn't return to Ohio State this year, he probably would have been a first or second round pick. He's about 6'1", 195 pounds. In 2020, had about 2 interceptions. 2019 had 1, and then 2018 had 3 interceptions. Didn't have a great 2020 season. They kind of were playing him out of place, but I think if they put him in the right place, I also think he does have some versatility, can play a little bit of safety as well if they really want him to, but I think cornerback is his primary position. I think this would be a really good pick in the fourth round. I'm not sure if he's going to be here, probably going to be a late third to fourth round pick, but I think this would be a good pickup to, at the very least, help our cornerback depth, but possibly be a high upside pick. Okay, so now with our fifth round pick, and I do think the Washington football team is going to add a receiver in this year's draft. Not necessarily early. I don't think in the first 3, probably even 4 rounds, but I think in the 5th round or even later with our 2 7th round picks, I think they might add a receiver, and they're looking for a bigger receiver on the outside. Josh Palmer would be a solid option in the 5th round. He's about 6'2", 210 pounds, had a really good Senior Bowl showing in 2020, had about 475 yards and 4 touchdowns for Tennessee this past season. They played a couple, less games than normal, so that's why his stats are a little bit down, but I think this would be a really good option in the 5th round to add to our receiving core. Okay, so now with our 7th round pick, and I do think we should go running back here. We need some more running back depth, and also need someone that, if Gibson goes down, he can, do some solid work for us. So I think Elijah Mitchell in the 7th round would be an absolute steal. You look at his stats, in 2019 had an amazing year, almost 200 carries for 1,147 yards and 16 touchdowns. Production went down in 2020 with 141 carries for 878 yards and 6.2 yards per carry with 8 touchdowns. But part of that is because he was splitting carries with another back, but also they played less games. They only played in 8 total games this past season. So that is part of the reason why. And honestly, I think it's a plus that he split carries in college because that means he's going to have less wear and tear on his body coming into the NFL, which I like. He's about 5'11", 218 pounds. I think he ran like a 4.3 40, very physical back, which I think we would love. And I think this would be a great back for the Washington football team to have. And he is a solid pass catching threat. Okay, so we are here in the 7th round with our last pick, pick 246. And I do think we need to address the edge rusher position just a little bit. We don't know if Ryan Kerrigan is going to come back. We'll see after the draft if that happens. But I think William Bradley King out of Baylor would be a solid option. Best edge rusher available and one of the best players available. He's a little bit undersized for defensive end, but still he's kind of that hybrid defensive end / outside linebacker. 6'4", 250 pounds. So needs to put on a little bit of weight. 2020 in a little bit of a shortened season had about 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. 2019 had 8.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. I think this would be a solid player, a solid addition if he is there in the 7th round. I do think we will end up drafting an edge rusher at some point, probably in the 7th round. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's go ahead and just go over our picks this year. We started off, took Jeremiah Uso-Koromoa, then Javon Holland out of Oregon, then Spencer Brown, Tommy Tremble, Sean Wade, Josh Palmer, Elijah Mitchell, and William Bradley King. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think, and I do think this will be my final mock draft. We will see though. Can't wait for the draft. Peace, guys.